Welcome to my channel Pocket Full of Questions. Today's question is, what is meant by solstice and equinox? Here is the answer. Do you know that days are longer or shorter during different times of the year? I shared this fact in my last video. To fully understand today's concept, you will have to watch our last videos about day and night and about seasons. So what exactly solstice and equinox is? When hours of daylight are maximum or minimum during the year, it is called solstice, and it happens in winter and in summer. Equinox, when hours of daylight and hours of darkness are equal during the year, it is called equinox. It happens in autumn and in spring. An equinox occurs when position of sun is exactly over the equator. When this happens, the hours of daylight and the hours of darkness are about equal almost everywhere on Earth. Equinox takes place twice a year, autumnal equinox or vernal or spring equinox. So if you look at the diagram, here exactly when the equinox happens. Autumnal equinox happens on September 23 in northern hemisphere and March 21 in southern hemisphere. After this, days become shorter and nights become longer. While vernal or spring equinox happens on March 21 in northern hemisphere and September 23 in southern hemisphere. After this, days become longer and nights become shorter. Now look at this diagram. If it is March 21 and spring equinox in northern hemisphere, at the same time it is autumnal equinox in southern hemisphere. Similarly, if it is September 22 or 23 and there is autumnal equinox in northern hemisphere, then we have spring equinox in southern hemisphere. A solstice occurs when sun is farthest north or south from the equator. In other words, we can say we have maximum or minimum hours of daylight. It happens 2 times a year, summer solstice and winter solstice. Now if you look at the diagram, this is exactly the position of the earth when solstice happens. 2 times a year. Summer solstice. It is the day with the most hours of sunlight. In other words, we can say that it is the longest day of the year. Summer solstice happens on June 21 or 22 in northern hemisphere, while it happens on December 22 or 23 in southern hemisphere. So here is summer solstice in northern hemisphere and we have winter solstice in southern hemisphere. Similarly, if it is winter solstice in northern hemisphere, we have summer solstice in southern hemisphere. Winter solstice. It is the day with the fewest hours of sunlight. In other words, we can say it is the shortest day of the year. It happens on December 23 or 22 or 23 in northern hemisphere and on June 21 or 22 in southern hemisphere. That's all about solstice and equinox. Thanks for watching.